pop_OS 24.04 LTS represents a major milestone not just for System 76, but for the broader Linux desktop ecosystem because it arrives at a moment where expectations for desktop Linux are changing rapidly. Users are no longer just hobbyists or developers experimenting on spare machines. Increasingly, they are professionals, creators, gamers, students, and even enterprises looking for a stable, polished, and opinionated operating system that works out of the box without endless configuration. Pop_OS has always positioned itself in this space, and the 24.04 LTS release doubles down on that identity in a way that feels deliberate, confident, and forward-looking. At its core, Pop_OS 24.04 LTS is built on Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, which already brings long-term stability, security updates for years, and a modern Linux kernel. But Pop_OS has never been just a reskinned Ubuntu. From the very beginning, System 76 has treated Ubuntu as a foundation rather than a finished product. In 24.04 LTS, this philosophy is more obvious than ever, especially as Pop_OS continues its transition away from GNOME-centric customization and toward its own desktop experience powered by Cosmic. One of the most important things to understand about Pop_OS 24.04 LTS is that it is designed with intention. It does not try to be everything for everyone. Instead, it makes strong choices about workflow, hardware support, and usability, and then optimizes heavily around those choices. This is immediately apparent from the first boot. The installer remains clean, minimal, and fast, focusing on clarity rather than overwhelming users with technical jargon. Disk encryption is front and center, not hidden as an advanced option, reinforcing the idea that security should be the default, not an afterthought. Hardware support remains one of Pop_OS's strongest advantages, especially for users with newer laptops or dedicated GPUs. System 76 continues to ship separate ISO images for Intel AMD graphics and NVIDIA graphics, a decision that may seem old-fashioned to some, but in practice eliminates a huge amount of friction. Instead of dealing with post-install driver headaches, black screens, or manual kernel module configuration, NVIDIA users get a system that boots cleanly and performs well immediately. In 24.04 LTS, this experience feels even more refined, with improved power management, smoother GPU switching on hybrid systems, and fewer edge cases that previously required manual tweaks. Under the hood, the kernel and system components in Pop_OS 24.04 LTS benefit from the improvements introduced in Ubuntu 24.04, including better scheduler behavior, improved file system performance, and expanded hardware compatibility. These changes are not always flashy, but they contribute significantly to the overall feel of the system. Applications launch quickly, background tasks remain unobtrusive, and the desktop remains responsive even under load. This responsiveness has long been a Pop_OS hallmark, and in 24.04 LTS, it feels more consistent across a wider range of hardware configurations. The desktop experience itself is where Pop_OS 24.04 LTS truly distinguishes itself. Historically, Pop_OS was known for its heavily customized GNOME desktop, complete with tiling extensions, keyboard-driven workflows, and productivity-focused tweaks. With 24.04 LTS, System 76 continues to move toward Cosmic as a first-class desktop environment. Cosmic is not just a theme or a set of extensions. It is a complete desktop stack being developed in-house, written largely in Rust, and designed specifically to solve long-standing problems in Linux desktop UX. Even in its current form, Cosmic in Pop_OS 24.04 LTS demonstrates a clear vision. Window management is central to the experience. Tiling is not treated as an advanced feature reserved for power users, but as a natural and approachable way to organize work. Windows snap intuitively. Keyboard shortcuts are consistent and discoverable, and the system encourages users to build muscle memory without forcing them into an all-or-nothing tiling paradigm. You can freely mix floating and tiled windows, and the system adapts without friction. Workspaces are another area where Pop_OS 24.04 LTS shines. Instead of static virtual desktops, workspaces feel dynamic and purpose-driven. You can create them on the fly, move windows between them easily, and use them to separate tasks logically rather than arbitrarily. This is particularly valuable for developers, writers, and researchers who often juggle multiple contexts throughout the day. The workflow encourages focus without imposing rigid structure. Keyboard navigation remains a first-class citizen. Nearly every common action can be performed without touching the mouse, from launching applications to rearranging windows and switching workspaces. At the same time, pop_OS does not alienate mouse-centric users. Visual cues, animations, and UI affordances make it clear what the system is doing and why. This balance between keyboard efficiency and visual clarity is difficult to achieve, yet pop_OS 24.04 LTS manages it better than most Linux desktops. Another defining aspect of pop_OS 24.04 LTS is its approach to software management. The pop_shop continues to serve as the primary graphical interface for installing and updating software, integrating system packages, flatpaks, and firmware updates into a single unified experience. While it may not be the fastest or flashiest app store on Linux, it prioritizes reliability and clarity. Updates are grouped logically, notifications are informative rather than intrusive, and the system avoids the common Linux pitfall of overwhelming users with cryptic package names and dependency details. Flatpak support plays an increasingly important role in pop_OS 24.04 LTS. By encouraging sandboxed applications, the system reduces the risk of dependency conflicts and improves overall stability. At the same time, System 76 has been careful not to abandon traditional apt packages entirely. This hybrid approach acknowledges the reality that different users have different needs. Developers may prefer system-wide packages and command-line tools, while casual users benefit from self-contained applications that just work. Security in pop_OS 24.04 LTS is treated as a foundational concern rather than a bolt-on feature. Full disk encryption is easy to enable during installation, secure boot is supported, and regular security updates are delivered automatically. Because this is an LTS release, users can expect consistent patches for years without disruptive changes to core system behavior. This makes pop_OS 24.04 LTS particularly appealing for work machines, production environments, and users who value predictability over novelty. Despite its focus on stability, pop_OS 24.04 LTS does not feel stagnant. System 76 has clearly invested in polishing small details that collectively make a big difference. System settings are logically organized, defaults are sensible, and unnecessary complexity is avoided wherever possible. Audio devices behave more predictably, display scaling is more reliable on high DPI screens, and power management on laptops feels more refined, with fewer surprises when closing the lid or resuming from suspend. For developers, pop_OS 24.04 LTS remains one of the most attractive Linux distributions available. Out-of-the-box support for popular programming languages, container tools, and virtualization technologies reduces setup time significantly. The terminal experience is clean and fast. System libraries are up to date without being bleeding edge, and the overall environment encourages experimentation without constant breakage. The fact that Cosmic is being written in Rust also sends a strong signal about the direction System 76 is taking, emphasizing memory safety, performance, and long-term maintainability. Gamers also benefit from the improvements in pop_OS 24.04 LTS. Thanks to newer kernels, updated Mesa drivers, and solid NVIDIA support, gaming performance is competitive with other leading Linux distributions. Steam integration is straightforward, Proton works well out of the box, and common gaming-related tweaks are either unnecessary or easy to apply. While pop_OS is not marketed explicitly as a gaming distribution, its hardware support and performance characteristics make it a strong contender for users who want to play games without sacrificing a productive desktop environment. One of the more subtle but important qualities of pop_OS 24.04 LTS is its consistency. Visual design, interaction patterns, and system behavior feel cohesive rather than stitched together from disparate components. This is something Linux desktops have historically struggled with, especially those built from a mix of upstream projects with different design philosophies. By investing heavily in Cosmic and maintaining tight control over defaults, System 76 is gradually reducing this fragmentation within pop_OS itself. At the same time, pop Underscore OS 24.04 LTS remains flexible enough for users who want to customize their experience. Themes, extensions, alternative window behaviors, and command line tools are all available. The difference is that customization feels optional rather than mandatory. You are not forced to tweak dozens of settings just to achieve a usable workflow. The system starts from a place of competence and lets you build from there. Long-term support is a crucial part of this release. With POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS, users can reasonably expect several years of updates without major disruptions. This is particularly valuable in environments where downtime is costly or where frequent OS upgrades are impractical. System 76's track record with previous LTS releases suggests that critical bugs will be addressed promptly, and that the system will continue to improve incrementally over time. Another important dimension of POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS is its relationship to System 76's hardware. While the distribution runs well on a wide range of systems, it is clearly optimized for System 76 laptops and desktops. Firmware updates, power profiles, keyboard shortcuts, and thermal management all integrate smoothly on supported hardware. This tight hardware-software integration is relatively rare in the Linux world and contributes significantly to the polished feel of the system. However, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS is not without trade-offs. Users who prefer a purely upstream GNOME experience may find Cosmic's direction unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. Others may prefer rolling release distributions with faster access to the latest software versions. POP! Underscore OS makes it clear that it prioritizes stability, workflow efficiency, and deliberate design over chasing every new trend. For many users, this is a strength rather than a weakness, but it is still an important consideration. What ultimately defines POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS is confidence. It feels like an operating system that knows what it wants to be and is willing to invest the time and effort required to get there. Rather than endlessly patching around the limitations of existing desktop paradigms, System 76 is building its own solutions, even when that means taking on significant technical risk. Cosmic is a long-term project, and 24.04 LTS represents an important step in that journey rather than its final destination. For users coming from Windows or Mac OS, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS offers a compelling alternative that does not require abandoning modern expectations of usability and performance. For longtime Linux users, it offers a fresh perspective on how the desktop can evolve without sacrificing the values that make Linux appealing in the first place. It respects the user's time, hardware, and attention, and that respect is evident in nearly every aspect of the system. In practical day-to-day use, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS fades into the background in the best possible way. It does not constantly demand attention with unnecessary prompts or confusing dialogues. It simply provides a solid foundation on which work can happen. Applications open quickly, the system remains stable, and the workflow encourages focus rather than distraction. Over time, these qualities matter far more than flashy features or short-term novelty. As an LTS release, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 is likely to become the default recommendation for many users looking to adopt POP! Underscore OS for the first time. It captures the essence of what the distribution has been striving toward for years while laying the groundwork for future innovation. Whether you are a developer, a creative professional, a student, or simply someone curious about the state of the Linux desktop, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS stands as a clear example of how thoughtful design, technical competence, and long-term vision can come together in a cohesive operating system. In the broader context of Linux desktop evolution, POP! Underscore OS 24.04 LTS is significant because it challenges the assumption that Linux must always follow rather than lead. By investing in its own desktop environment, refining its workflow model, and maintaining a strong focus on user experience, System 76 is demonstrating that Linux can be opinionated, polished, and forward-looking without abandoning its open-source roots. This release does not just explain what POP! Underscore OS is today. It hints at what it could become in the years ahead.